saw the face of God. A vast and sudden silence among the noisy heavens. That evening I dreamed I listened to one side of a conversation I should not have overheard.
And there I was, as I held him in my arms. Nobody in this modern age has ever felt it. I, and only I, he has shown himself to me, and only myself. The restless wanderer is described in psychological literature as a man who is stuck between both worlds. The wanderer longs for a home yet feels at home nowhere, dwelling in a liminal space between the familiar and the unknown, the truth and the untruth. Blackmore's stand can't be specifically placed in any of the 13 categories. He is not necessarily a regional type stand user, as the region ranges from random areas, and neither is he a specific suit stand user, as a suit does nothing in particular other than hide his identity. Blackmore's stand is a conditional standability, the only one in the series with such specific conditions, a condition so specific that he himself cannot control it, and that says a lot, so much about his character. If rain does not fall, then Blackmore is deemed useless, just like the restless wanderer being stuck in a state of usefulness and uselessness, all depending on conditions you cannot control. No level of consistency, no control at all, continually going wherever the rain is. And when Blackmore died, the rain simply stopped. He comes off as someone who lacks confidence, apologizing with every word, even before he starts a sentence. In many cases, apologizing for just speaking when he's done nothing wrong or said nothing wrong or is going to say nothing wrong. It's as if he's sorry for even existing in the first place. He's awkward. This is simply how Blackmore behaves. This is who he is, without the mask. Once he activates the mask and gets to work, his demeanor completely shifts. Dancing in the air, cold, confident, powerful. Compared to his previous melancholic, timid, shy demeanor, it's as if he's finally free. President Valentine simply tells Blackmore to catch the pigeon that's escaping because it has information that they need. When Blackmore activates his stand ability, the moment the mask is on, he wallops. He starts to dance in the air on top of the raindrops. He becomes someone else entirely. Now, Blackmore has the ability to warp a specific part of his body wherever he needs it into the rain. So, he's trying to catch a pigeon. Why would he not simply warp his hand and immobilize a pigeon? No, Blackmore warps his mouth and bites into the live bird, killing it. This is how he catches it. What man bites a living bird to catch it?
A man with something to prove, that's for sure.
The phrase catch the rainbow is deliberately a paradox, especially since he named the stand himself. A rainbow is something you can see clearly, but can never physically grasp. It only appears under specific conditions and vanishes without warning. It exists in a space between illusion and reality, as I said earlier, a state of truth and untruth. To catch it is to attempt to control something that is fundamentally uncontrollable.
That's the kind of creatures we are. We take joy in trying to exceed our grasp, in trying to reach for something that in the end, we have to admit, may in fact be unreachable.
This is who Blackmore is, a standard representation of yourself. His power only manifests under conditions he cannot command, and when these conditions disappear, so does his agency. Naming his stand Catch the Rainbow is less a statement of confidence and quirkiness, and more of a quiet admission, the truth seeping through the cracks. His existence revolves around chasing these moments of power that are fleeting, conditional, and never truly his. It reflects a desire to seize something more than himself. So when he has a simple task to catch a bird, I'm not just gonna catch the bird, I'm gonna go crazy and bite the bird to immobilize it. Why not? If I'm fully capable of dominating my domain, why would I not do that? This is who Blackmore is, a true contrast to his usual self once he's not in control. Up until this point, his behavior is defined by restraint. He apologizes for everything and never asserts himself. apologizing 5 to 6 times for random things that one does not have to apologize for, naturally showing low self-confidence. When hunting Lucy Steele, he tells Valentine that the person they are looking for is not a stand user. When they enter the bathroom to catch this person, however, they disappeared in thin air. Naturally, Valentine is pissed. How can a non-stand user disappear like that? Valentine takes out his frustration of being misled on Blackmore, and rightfully so. He was the one who informed him that they are not a stand user. So now Blackmore, when cornered for his mistakes, the same apologizer doesn't apologize. Out of all the times Blackmore has apologized for no reason, here would actually seem valid, vindicated even, to apologize in this context. You misled someone, your president. But Blackmore doesn't apologize. He doesn't say sorry for messing up. What he does is simply give the information how it is, checking even below the toilet seat that he leaves nothing unchecked. He states, there are 2 people, not 2 stand users, 1 person and 1 stand user who helped the person escape. If Blackmore took the approach to apologize and victimize himself here, he would only be losing Valentine's trust and respect. And this is where Blackmore shows his true intelligence and poise. What he did was give information and let Valentine know that he's in control of the situation. He goes as far as to say that this is a good thing, because truthfully, 2 people are easier to track than 1. His confidence is not something you would expect out of such a timid character. However, he can be confident and not filled with self-doubt once he's around the president, once he's able to use his stand abilities, once the conditions are met. Blackmore is naturally codependent. The same way he depends on the rain to fight, he depends on the president to have purpose, to have drive, to have confidence. Remember this. In chapter 38, we begin by realizing Blackmore tracked down Lucy Steele on her horse simply by traveling through the rain. Like a predator, he looms over her, asserting his dominance the same way he did with Mountain Tim before he killed him. As he quickly retrieves the corpse parts, however, Blackmore was fated to fail. He was never a man of individual ambition. His stand reflects this codependency. He, himself, has no value. But when Blackmore holds the corpse in his hands, he begins to second-guess his ideology, justifying it, shown in his meticulous words. I want it. Say that I don't hand this over to the president and keep it as my own. Even I, Blackmore, have the right to hold this. I strongly desire it. Emphasis on the even I. As you can see, Blackmore is contradicting himself and his worldview in this moment. Even someone like me deserves a chance. Even I, Blackmore, deserves a chance. Him saying this now proves that he has lived his entire life thinking the opposite, living only to serve the ones above him. So only now does he muster the courage, trying to think for himself in an effort to justify, possibly for once, putting himself first. Not being codependent, but finding a reason to depend on himself, or finding his own ambitions, to bet on himself for once, to attain something for himself. To justify this, he convinces himself, all people are equal, even I have the right to own this. It's as if his mask, his persona, is trying to speak to his true self, to convince him that yes, you have the right to own things for yourself. You have the right to strive for your own greatness, and not always the greatness of others.
Whoever looks into the mirror of the water will see first of all his own face. Whoever goes to himself risks a confrontation with himself. The mirror does not flatter, it faithfully shows whatever looks into it, namely, the face we never show to the world because we cover it with a persona, the mask of the actor. But the mirror lies behind the mask and shows the true face.
Every human has these thoughts. It's natural. Bench players know they don't deserve a certain privilege. They are not as talented or as good as the superstars, but they want to believe that they are. They want to believe in fairness, that everything and everyone should be equal, and they should have a fair chance at playing the game and getting equal minutes on the court. However, the reality is always different, and you must understand that. Which is why it's tragic that the one time Blackmore thinks for himself and bets on himself and his own well-being, he briefly entertains the idea of wielding the corpse part for himself. He steps outside the established psychological environmental safe zone, and this result is immediate and brutal. This result isn't incidental. He is shot and effectively killed the moment he thinks about stepping out of the safe zone. This tragedy functions as confirmation of internal belief that Blackmore already held, that acting on personal desire is dangerous. The punishment was so swift and decisive that it reads less like bad luck and almost as if it's fate, like narrative reinforcement. After this, Blackmore never again seriously entertains acting for himself. The incident becomes the final confirmation of something he already knew. Trusting himself leads to catastrophe. He is and always should be codependent. The symbolism is strong. His distraction killed him. He was distracted with thinking about wanting something for himself instead of being codependent on the president and following orders. So he died for it, died for just thinking about it. So with the rain still falling, Blackmore, now almost dead, basically dead, patches his wounds and admits that I am going to die from these injuries. But due to the rain and my standability, I can prolong my death. But before I do die, I will right my wrongs and try to defeat the main cast and prevent them from obtaining this corpse part. And this is where Blackmore, unfortunately, meets his end. His stand, his life force, his will never once portrays that of someone who can act individually. His very fighting style, his stand, an expression of his will, strictly depends on something he cannot control. And when he tries to gain control, he's shot in the neck for it.
Carl Jung published his book Psychological Types in 1921, introducing 4 functions of consciousness: thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition, and the 2 attitudes through which these 4 functions are deployed: introversion and extroversion. If one of these functions habitually predominates, it is called a primary or dominant function, which is paired with a secondary or auxiliary function. It was Jung who taught us that a rational function, thinking or feeling, is paired with an irrational function, sensation or intuition, to develop a conscious orientation, or as he put it, an ego consciousness, that involved just these 2 differentiated functions.
Ego consciousness refers to the organized field of awareness through which an individual experiences themselves as a distinct, continuous subject in relation to the world. It is the structure that integrates perception, memory, and desire into a coherent sense of I, allowing the person to interpret reality, regulate impulses, and act with the intention within social and material constraints. It is the acknowledgement of the I that allows you to take the next step in your life. And that is where the tragedy is. Because when Blackmore finally acknowledges the I, he is shot and effectively killed. He is not allowed to have a I. It's not like the tennis ball theory. Blackmore doesn't get a tennis ball. He doesn't even get that far to fall on one of the 2 sides. There was no reality where Blackmore could have a sense of individualism. It is impossible. His soul does not allow it. And when you fight against fate, we all see what happens to you in the universe. Gyro Zeppeli fought desperately against fate. And to what end? What did it accomplish for him and his goals? Sure, he might have influenced and helped and bettered others along his journey, and for that, he will always be a hero in my book. But for his actual goals, he did not accomplish any of them. The boy he tried to save was saved, but not because of him. And even if he prolonged the boy's life, what is the point of prolonging a life for a few months? That is the mentality a lot of people have. Others might say that a life is a life, and living life for an extra few months is still living life and it is worth it. To demean someone's life by saying it's only a few months is a nihilistic point of view. It is not an emotionally aware way of thinking. However, I will save all of that for my Gyro Zeppeli video. Regardless, his acknowledgement of the I is what killed him. Characters in JoJo do acknowledge the I and they are allowed to, but Blackmore's stand ties him to something else. The moment he tries to step away from that, it's as if he is cutting the lifeline that he so long and desperately belongs to. It's like cutting the umbilical cord. Blackmore naturally has an umbilical cord in his system. And by acknowledging the individualism, by acknowledging the individual by himself, he cuts his umbilical cord and he dies for it. The hunt for Lucy Steele took place in Philadelphia. In the 19th century, Philadelphia experienced a climate broadly comparable to today, with historical records indicating roughly 110 days per year with measurable precipitation. Using the conservative midpoint being 112 days, the probability that rain will fall on any given day is roughly 1 in 3, so 30 or 33% around that area. However, as of now, a rainy day did not mean uninterrupted rainfall. Precipitation in this area primarily came out as short-lived showers or passing storms, not continuous downpour. Scaling this to actual stand usability time, and again highballing with a generous assumption of 90 minutes of cumulative rainfall per rainy day, the probability that it is raining at any random moment becomes 1.9%. So, in practical terms, during 1890 to 1891, Blackmore would be capable of fully using his stand less than 2% of the time on average. Even when fate lies in his favor, his power window is typically limited to about 90 total minutes per successful day, almost never continuous, and usually fragmented into brief, unusable bursts. This makes Catch the Rainbow not merely conditional, but historically cruel. A stand whose effectiveness is governed by the 19th century weather patterns, chance, timing, and an environment that rarely cooperates. When Blackmore dominates, it isn't because his stand is generous. It's because the world momentarily gave him consent. Hello everyone, and thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, support me by clicking the first link in the description and reading my book. It is a very informative and very interesting book. And if you enjoy my videos, there's no doubt you will enjoy what I create. It is a psychological odyssey, something that comes together so well, and the entire universe is simply a breath of fresh air. I promise you, you will not regret it.